Hello lovely wild hearts, it's Lisa here. For those of you that don't know me, I'm an HSP, an intuitive coach and writer, and I teach highly sensitives to journal with tarot cards to unlock their intuitive and creative gifts and discover their true voice. So today we're going to be revisiting the Cozy Witch Tarot deck. But today I want to story tell with the cards and let them tell the story of what it's like to be a highly sensitive, estranged from your family of origin. So I'm hoping to offer some healing in this video. You may well be someone that's in and out of estrangement with a family member or all of your family. You may well be considering going no contact, or you may be low contact, or you may have been estranged for some time. And I'm hoping that through the cards that I can offer some insights and some wisdom, and as I say, some healing to help you get through that, because it's probably one of the hardest things that you'll ever have to do in this lifetime, to grieve for the people that made you that are still alive. So let's begin by looking at the cards, and I would ask that if you find this video helpful, that you share it with someone that you know that's struggling with the same thing, that you give it a like, and that you pop a little emoji in the comments below. Maybe we could put some hearts in the comments below and know that we're sending out healing to all the people that have very painful and complicated relationships with their family of origins. Please don't think this stuff is straightforward and easy, because it really is not. Okay, so let's start off with the first card. Oh yeah, 10 of Pentacles. That is the card of family in the tarot. Having it all looks different to everyone. There you go. She's got a family of cats. She's a cat lady. Good for her. Well, if you've come from a dysfunctional family, you will probably be drawn to having connections with animals, because they're connections of unconditional love, aren't they? And they're straightforward relationships. As I was saying, in relationships with our family, so traditional family, or how we're presented family in society, if you're coming from a dysfunctional family, your family is not like other families. And people who have not come from the same place that you've come from do not understand what that's like. They do not understand. Be discerning about who you share your story with, because you will be met with judgment, and you will be met with shame, and you will be met with people who say, but it's your mum, but it's your dad, but what are you doing? But you only get one family, but it's blood's thicker than water. And quite frankly, none of that is helpful, and it will keep you stuck in these dysfunctional patterns, relational patterns with your family. And if we don't heal from these patterns, these relational patterns that we have with our family, we end up acting them out in other relationships in our lives, whether that's with co-workers or bosses or partners or in friendships. So how many of you listening here have got an alcoholic parent, or a narcissistic parent, or a parent who's very stuck in their own victimhood and wants everyone to come in and rescue them? How many of you have got a parent that's like a child, really, that you're having to be the parent for, and then you're replicating that relational pattern in a relationship in your life? And that all that is just showing you where there's healing, isn't it? It's just showing you where there's healing. But this person looks very ashamed that my family isn't like it looks on the Hallmark Channel. It isn't like that family over the road. Or just be very wary that people that present as the perfect family online particularly are very image orientated, and we don't know what goes on behind closed doors for other families. I'm always very wary of people that are perfect and polished. You add religion into that mix and it's just pretty freaking toxic, if you ask me. I just think all families are on a sliding scale of dysfunction. Obviously some of them more dysfunctional than others, and not all relationships in families are going to be straightforward and harmonious, because people are different and complicated. And I suppose the hallmark of a healthy family is recognising that your family isn't without its challenges, but you're prepared to be open and honest about those, and take responsibility. I've watched a lot of videos online of parents who are estranged, who come online and claim but they don't understand why their kids aren't talking to them, and they've done everything and they've done their best and they've tried really hard. And I quite frankly don't buy into that story, because as the daughter of someone that's estranged from her own family, I know that my parents haven't done everything to repair the relationship. And it's pretty hard to do that if you aren't accountable and you don't take responsibility for your own actions, isn't it? These families are entrenched in denial. There's high levels of denial that are just so toxic. They make you question your own reality, your own sanity, and they're designed to do that, to keep you controllable, I suppose. Oh yeah. And then in come the flying monkeys. Do we know about flying monkeys? So in the Wizard of Oz, so the Wizard of Oz is the narcissist, and the flying monkeys are sent in to deliver, to do the Wizard of Oz bidding, basically. So if you've got a narcissistic parent, then they may send in family members and friends or other siblings to guilt you or shame you further or pull you back into the drama to get you to come back to the toxic family system. 8 of Wands, light a fire underneath your cauldron and go, go, go. Yeah, they're coming in to kind of shake everything up and make you doubt and question your reality. So I can remember, for those of you that don't know, I've been estranged from certain members of my family, including both my parents, for more than 10 years now. And it's been a really... they made it easy for me, because in the beginning when it all kicked off, and people say, you just make a decision. You don't just wake up one morning and decide, I'm never going to speak to my family again. No, it happens over time. And I think the healthier you get and the more boundaries you get, the more that you can't withstand the denial. You can't live in the space of denial anymore. But when I first started to set boundaries, in particular with my mother, my siblings would come in, and she would send out emails and CC everyone in, and I don't know what I've done wrong, and just trying to take the control back, but very bullying. And I had siblings that were writing to me, why are you being so horrible to mum? Why are you being so unkind to her? Which, obviously setting boundaries is not unkind, it's healthy, but in an enmeshed family system where there are no boundaries, a parent who needs to be in control all the time can't bear boundaries, can't bear that people are individuals and they've got their own minds and their own thoughts and their own feelings, and they don't always agree with that person. So yeah, the flying monkeys are sent in to do the narcissistic parent's bidding, to shake up your world, to make you doubt your decision, to try and pull you back in to the drama. Don't go. Stay with your own story. Stay with yourself. Stay with yourself. Look at them all. There's loads of them. And I think it's not just the people, it's actually the things they say to you. So they'll try and they might smear you. They might smear your good name and say that you're a bad person. So one of my siblings wouldn't let me see my niece and nephew because I was mental health and it wasn't safe for them to be around me. And obviously I did have mental health issues, but I was addressing those in therapy. And there were other members of the family who had severe mental health issues. They were unsafe and highly toxic, and yet those children were allowed to hang out with that person. Now that just shows you how high the levels of denial are, that people are brainwashed into believing a certain image, a false self, the image that the narcissistic parent portrays to the outside world. And if you don't fall in line with the image, if you question the image, if you tell the truth, if you speak up, then, you're going to be banished, or you're going to have all these people coming at you and telling you what a terrible person you are. You are not a terrible person. As a highly sensitive person, you're probably very switched on, and you're very good at picking up at what's not being said and the undercurrents of the tension. And after a while, as a highly sensitive person, you kind of cave in, and that's why highly sensitive people are often the first people to get help, because they are the emotional buffer, the emotional trash can, and they're holding all the pain for the family until they can't hold it anymore. And then I think I was also told that I was attention seeking. I wasn't attention seeking. I was just having feelings which were very appropriate for the way that I was being treated. I was being bullied. Scapegoating, if you're the scapegoat of your family, scapegoating is bullying, and bullying is abuse, and it's not acceptable. So how do you deal with those people then? Maybe it'd be helpful to... How do you deal with those people? You don't engage. You just don't... And they'll say so many things to try and goad you into an argument. And they'll know where your buttons are. They know where your Achilles heel is because they're family. They created them. But you just mustn't rise to the bait. You must just... It's called grey rock. You must just grey rock them. You must become very boring and not have a lot to say. Be very emotionless because they feed off your emotion. But boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Don't leave home without them. Oh, here we go. So here we've got the Knight of Cups. Romanticize the present moment every chance you get. Now, see, this is making me think about the narcissistic family system because it's like a mouldy apple where it looks all shiny and red and glowing on the outside. That's what I was saying earlier about presenting this shiny image to the outside world. But actually, when you bite into it, it's rotten and it's full of maggots and nobody wants to really eat it. And the narcissist is the one... So imagine a narcissist is like a stage director and they write the scripts and they decide what parts everybody plays. So everyone in the family system is in a role. And they dictate who likes what, who says what, I don't know, they dictate what you wear, they dictate everything. And if you are not in agreement, I mean, as a kid, you've got to go along with that, right? Because you're dependent on that parent for safety, for food, for water, for love. It's not love. But what's that on the beach there? There's a book and then there's a ring of, she's put a ring of shells in front of her. Yeah, so you almost want to put a ring of protection around your reality. So that's where you need to have a boundary where your reality doesn't get muddied with their delusional, romanticized, we're like the perfect family, look at us. You can see that it isn't all it's cracked up to be. And so put a ring of protection around your reality and stay with your story. And do you know how I did that? I did that through journaling. I used to write everything down, some of the heinous things that were said and were done to me. Very childish, actually, just very childish things where they'd say things that they know would trigger me. And then I didn't bite. And then they would all look at me waiting for me to get angry and laugh. And I'd be like, oh, not playing this game anymore. So I'd put this ring of protection, it's a boundary, around your reality and saying, I trust my reality. I know what's happening here. And the way to build on that is to journal every day and write down what's happening to you. It's also a really helpful list of crimes to look at when you feel like you're being pulled back into the drama by the flying monkeys. And you can go and read in your journal and go, oh, God, they're just a bunch of turds and I don't really need to put up with that behaviour, thanks very much. But notice that she's on her own on the beach. And so that's the hard thing. Like, they've all bought into the false reality that is dictated by the narcissistic parent. And you're stuck out in an abandoned shack on your own with your own reality. And you do start to lose faith in yourself, of course. And that's why at this point it's really helpful to talk to someone like me or a great trauma therapist. You must work with a therapist that understands the dynamics of an alcoholic or a narcissistic or a traumatized family system, because not all of them do. And what you're being asked to do is you're being asked to enter into the delusional reality in order to survive it. But when you're an adult, you don't have to tolerate that crap anymore. You can leave. But if you can't leave, like I'm seeing the house here, if you're still at home with parents like this, then you must build a protective barrier, a boundary around your mind and stay with yourself, because they'll only gaslight you and tell you that you're imagining it and it wasn't like that and you've remembered it wrong and whatever. The Chariot. You'll never get anywhere if you keep standing still. You can stay stuck in this situation for years. Now, don't beat yourself up if you do, because it's very difficult to get out of. You're in this false reality. You've been sold a lie, and so half of you's had to live in the lie and the other half of you's living in your truth of what you see on a daily basis. The lie is what's being sold to the outside world. The lie is the lie that everyone else is living. And that's called cognitive dissonance. And that cognitive dissonance can render you in a freeze response where you feel like you stay in this space of self-doubt and questioning and challenging yourself so that you don't have to take action and leave. And as I say, you might leave and go back, and you might try again. You might keep trying. You might leave and never go back. But if you're not, if you're kind of in that space of doubting yourself, then you are stuck. You're stuck because, you know, your reality is your reality. And that I think that's the bit that was really hard for me. The gaslighting was so intense over a period of, well, all my life. So until I was like in my mid-30s, that I've been brainwashed to believe something that wasn't true. And so I couldn't get on my bike and leave. There was also some unwritten rules about loyalty, which were misdirected loyalty and actually more lies, that, you know, that you had to be loyal to these people who were not being loyal to you. They were not being loyal to you. You were trying to have sincere conversations with insincere people. You were trying to work things through with people that were not interested in facing their stuff. They weren't accountable for their stuff. What do you see when you see the person on their bike? See, I'm now thinking that also the narcissistic parent can be highly manipulative and say that, you know, they can feel abandoned by you because that's their worst fear. Like, how very dare you leave me? And you may feel guilty for leaving. Why? You're not responsible for them. They're supposed to be responsible for you. It's the wrong way round. It's arse about face. When you're a parentified child, you have become the adult and your parent is the child. And you feel responsible for them. And maybe that's why you feel like you can't leave. And also, this is quite brutal to hear, but you don't know yourself outside of the context of the family system. So you don't know who you are. You only know yourself in the role that you play in that family. And that could be very scary as well. Oh, is she on the phone? Is she on the phone? Yeah. Need to phone a friend. That's what that's making me think of. The King of Wands. Shine your inner candlelight bright enough for others to follow. I think this is more about maybe finding someone at this point when it's all coming undone that can be the lighthouse for you, that can shine the light for you. Like this story I'm telling now is saying it's not you, it's them. You know, you stay connected to yourself, your truth. Phone that person, book that therapy session, find that supporter or support group. It's quite hard to be in support groups when you've been in a family where you've been estranged, because your first experience of being in a group of people is with a group of people that have bullied you. So it might be hard for you to connect with a group of people. But you don't want them to follow you. That's the thing. And I think the fear was I didn't really go no contact, if I'm honest. I didn't go no contact. I just set a couple of boundaries and then challenged people on their version of reality. And that did not go down well at all. They all just unravelled themselves. And then the drama ensued, and I just didn't get involved in the drama. I just stayed away from it. So she's gone to a safe house, hasn't she? I just stayed in my flat and didn't take any calls and didn't respond to messages. And I wasn't blocking it all out. I was doing it to keep myself safe, to preserve self-preservation, self-protection. Eight of Pentacles. Sorry, but the fairies aren't going to come and do all the work for you. Yeah, look, going back to that whole fairy tale thing, look, can you see all those fairy houses? It's like, yeah, it's because of you that this family doesn't work, because you've come in with your big ugly hammer and you're smashing up all our fairy tale that we've created. And you're, you know, it's you. You're so unkind, you're so mean. Well, actually, that's projection. They are living a lie. It's like the Emperor's New Clothes, isn't it? That's the fairy tale we're thinking of here. The Emperor's New Clothes says that that hired 2 tailors to come and make clothes for him, and he walked down the street with no clothes on, and the flying monkeys and everyone else was saying, oh, your suit's amazing, it's wonderful, but he wasn't wearing a suit. And it's that delusional reality that you're trying, you know, this is your hammer of truth, you're trying to smash through that and stay with your own reality, and you're not even smashing it, to be honest. Like, if it's really dysfunctional, like I said, you just need to say no to someone like that and watch them come undone. Like, that was something that you couldn't say no to. You couldn't say the word no to one of my parents. And if you did, they would quite easily come undone. And then it would all be, but you're being horrible to such and such, and you're such a mean person. And yeah, they can't stomach the truth. The truth is almost like the antidote to the lie, isn't it? Like, if there's truth there, then the dysfunction can't continue. A lot of denial in these family systems, a lot of denial. Oh, and there's a lot of grief. 5 of Cups. Spilled tea isn't the end of the world. Oh, it really does feel like the end of the world, because part of you knows that you're leaving because you've got to, because you can't live the lie anymore. And part of you knows that that's going to hurt, because there may be members of that family. So I'm seeing, like, there's 2 cups over here and then there's 3 here. So maybe there's people that you don't want to talk to, but then there's still 2 people over here that you'd quite like to have a relationship with. But if you're not having a relationship with the perpetrator, with the leader, with the main abuser, then they're too frightened to have a relationship with you. So then, you know, you're going to lose out on other relationships. I mean, I just walked away from it all, and any extended family members, so like cousins and people that we've grown up with as kids, I mean, I wasn't really in touch with them anyway. We got kind of drifted apart, and I'm forever grateful for having those people in my life, because lots of them are really good people, but they're very, you know, they've got relationships with my parents, and they don't really know the half of it. So I can't really. A half safe person is not a safe person, is what Patrick Teehan says. If you're not following Patrick Teehan, he is a brilliant trauma therapist on YouTube. He says half safe people are not safe people, and you need to be around safe people. So, you know, these 2 people here that maybe you've had a good relationship with in the family, they're still knocking about with these people here. So they're half safe. So they're not entirely safe for you. It doesn't feel like the end of the world when you leave, because it's just not a brutal cut off. Like when you talk about estrangement and no contact, I'm almost seeing like a guillotine falling down on someone's head. It is not. Oh, for me at least it wasn't. Share me your experience in the comments. It wasn't that brutal. It just kind of, from setting a boundary and saying no to something, it just unravelled. It just unravelled, and it just revealed itself. Everyone showed their true colours. I could see who people were, who was throwing me under a bus, who was team Lisa and who was team the narcissistic or the abusive parent. And I was like, oh no, I'm done. Because when you're not in denial anymore, that sort of stuff makes you feel sick. You feel sick in your stomach. You can't stomach it. You can't stomach it anymore. Oh. Yeah, and then you find yourself on your own. Treat yourself to something shiny every now and again. It's a very bare room, that, isn't it? There's no home comforts there. There's no coziness. There's no curtains at the window. There's no carpet on the floor. There's no sofa. She's just sat on a cushion with 4 bags of money. you do feel like you're left with nothing, like you're starting all over again. You are starting all over again. You're starting to grieve and understand the life that you've left behind, and you're starting to build a new life, and you are building it from scratch. And actually, as I look back, maybe I didn't realise that at the time, because I think if you kind of took all of that on board, you probably would never leave. You probably would never leave. So yeah, you got to start treating yourself with love and respect and kindness, but that is a process in itself, because maybe what's been presented to you as love and respect and kindness isn't that at all. Your blueprint for love will have been modelled by your parents, and so, but it depends, one, on what their relationship is like, and then how they loved you. Well, love and abuse mixed together is not love, it's control. And so the Four of Pentacles, actually, in the classic Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, is the card of controlling and not letting go. So maybe at this point you're just holding on to yourself, holding on by your fingernails and thinking, I'm all I've got right now. I mean, I did have friends at the time, but then some of those friends were tangled up with my siblings, and so that made things complicated. That made things complicated. Two of Pentacles, look at that. You have to choose them or you have to choose you. What parent puts their child in a position where they have to choose themselves? They have to choose the parent or themselves. No parent does that. No healthy parent does that. It shouldn't be an either or, and it shouldn't be a case of sides. That's making me think about the sides. It's like, who's team estranged person and who's team family? And so the sides are formed, and then people go, I'm not taking sides. And it's like, but you are, because there are sides, and the sides were not dictated by me, because a narcissistic parent will have a view, will have a very unhealthy view of the world, that's you're either with me or you're against me. There's no, you can be different to me, or you can say no to me, or you can choose to do things differently and I won't take it personally. They take everything personally. Everything is about them. And they make you choose. And they guilt you and shame you and make you afraid so that you choose them. And as a child, you would have had to have chosen them all the time. But as an adult now, you are choosing you. So things are starting to get a bit healthier there, aren't they? But there are sides, and you have to kind of, I suppose it's quite similar when you hear about couples that go through these terrible divorces, and they lose friends. They've got joint friends, and people take sides. And I suppose if you're not taking sides, you might think you're being helpful, but you're actually not if it's abuse. Because if someone's being abused and you're not taking sides, what you're effectively saying is, I don't believe that you're abused, because I'm still quite happy to knock about with this person who you're saying abused you. Do you get what I mean? So if you're not taking sides, then you're not believing what the estranged person is saying. But maybe that's because you want to stay in touch with the person who was being abusive, and perhaps that person wasn't abusive to you. Because here's the thing, abusive people are clever. They don't abuse everyone. They just pick certain people out to abuse, and then when that person comes out and says, I was abused, no one believes them, because they can be as nice as pie to everyone else. They could be a pastor or a teacher or a nurse or a charity worker, and seen as doing. You see that a lot in the public eye with people that are covertly narcissistic. They present themselves as one way, but behind closed doors, they are horrible. Yeah, so we're back to this whole starting again. And actually, here we go, the Cozy Witch. The Naught is the Fool card in the tarot, which is the beginning of the hero's journey. Take a chance, for each morning is a new beginning. I feel like, because she's looking in the mirror, this is you. This is you working out who you are. So you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're saying, am I all those terrible things that they told me I was? Am I selfish? Am I attention seeking? Am I horrible and cruel and unkind? Am I dishonest? Am I mad? I was even called mad by one member of my family. Am I mental health? Am I not worthy of having a relationship with my niece and nephew? Just be really wary of people that call other people crazy. Because, you know, I think crazy people, if we were going to define what that is, a crazy person is someone who's been abused and is acting out. And, you know, I have acted out in my relationships as I've been healing. So, you know, I'm not saying I'm an angel or I'm completely blameless. I've been in relationships where I've not acted in ways where I'm proud of myself. But what I do know is that I was acting out of survival mode, and those narcissistic parents are also acting out of survival mode. They're very, very traumatised, but they are the head of the family. They are responsible, so it is on them to make it better. But first of all, they have to acknowledge there's a problem, and normally the levels of denial are so high that they can't do that. So this is the point now in the story where you're working out, who am I? I'm going to have to get to know myself in the context of being outside of my family of origin, of not being in that role of golden child, scapegoat, mascot. What else? What are the other roles? Invisible child. I'm going to have to work out who I am. And journaling, again, is a really good tool for this. And I teach journaling with the tarot cards because, as you can see, the tarot cards are showing us the bits of ourselves that we need to know. As we're going through the story, maybe you can resonate with what I'm saying, but maybe the cards are speaking to you and giving you a different message. But look at how, in truth, she looks completely different to the person that she sees in the mirror, because she's had so parents who are toxic and abusive project their unhealed wounds onto their offspring. They will project shame onto them. They will see things in their kids that aren't there. They may even project their own abusers onto their children. So that then the child is manipulating me. The child is this, the child is that. No, you're an adult and the child is being a child, and it's on you to make sure that the child grows up knowing not to do that. A child is not a bully. A child doesn't have power. Parents who give their children power are playing the victim card. You are the parent. That's rubbish. Rubbish. Here we go. Oh, now a bit more peaceful now. Having a cup of tea. King of Cups. Always compose yourself before giving a response. Yes, so this is where we do the whole grey rock thing and we don't respond to emails or attempts to pull us back in. So, I mean, I suppose you don't think this far down the line when you're going through it, but there will be occasions in families, like I've missed funerals, I've missed weddings of people that, you know, that I did once love and were in my life. I've missed birthdays, I've missed people having kids. You're going to have to let go of a lot of that, and just be mindful of when you're getting sucked back into the drama. So like being able to stay with yourself and not replying is a reply, isn't it? Not replying to someone is actually replying and saying, I'm not engaging. That's my tummy rumbling. I'm not going to engage in this conversation. I'm not going to engage in this conversation. What do you see when you look at that card? Oh, my tummy really spoke then when I said that. There's something else there that I need to see. Hang on a minute. Let me have a sip of my tea. I just think these people know how to emotionally dysregulate you and trigger you because they installed your buttons. So they will do everything in their power to elicit an emotional response from you. Narcissists feed off of your pain and your fear. So they don't want you to do well. They want to see you struggling so that you know, then they'll swoop in, and they like to see you being vulnerable. Maybe my tummy's rumbling because it's time to stop the video, because we have been talking about this for a long time. Knight of Wands. Sometimes you have to be willing to bend the rules a little. Yeah, you can't be honest with these people. You can't have sincere conversations with insincere people. You know, we've got one person here with one leg out the window and one leg in. That you're unsafe people. You're going to have to be a bit smart about it. If I could do it again, around people that I now see as unsafe or relationships that I've kind of stepped away from, I just wouldn't have talked to those people about it. I just would have saved it for my therapist But I was so lonely and felt so misunderstood and invalidated by my family that I was still seeking approval and validation from other people. So, but yeah, you've got to be a bit smart. You know, you don't get dragged into these conversations. People just change the subject. Oh, so you haven't spoken to your mum? No. What's going on? I don't know. I don't really want to talk about that today. Can we talk about something else? Just change the subject. Don't get into it with people. You know, not everyone is privy to know your private stuff. And if you come from a toxic family, you won't have had boundaries, so you won't have been allowed to have private thoughts. You don't have to overshare and over-explain to everybody. You can just say, can we not talk about that today? Or I'm not sure how I feel about that at the moment, so I'm still processing it, so maybe I'll share it another day if it feels appropriate. You know, thanks for your concern to the other person. Because, well, some people will be acting out of concern because they're worried about you, and other people will have their own agenda, and that's on you to work out who they are. So family is whoever makes you feel the most safe and comfortable being you. I've already had this card today on another reading that I recorded. You will eventually, as you come through your healing, start to find other groups of people that you can belong to. I think it's quite important when you're healing, when you get to a certain point in your healing, to become parts of other communities, and to hear other people's stories. It's very healing. When I ran my inner child book club, it's very healing for those people to hear one another's stories and to see themselves reflected in someone else's story and knowing that they're not alone with it. And that's partly why I'm making a video today, because and finding those people means you've got to trust and let people in, and that is very challenging and can feel quite uncomfortable. It can bring up a lot of your stuff, but that stuff is all coming up to be healed, so just be gentle with yourself. And what I would say is, don't rush to force or create relationships with new people. Sit back, be an observer, take your time, notice how people are treating other people, notice how they behave, notice how their energy feels, notice if they feel safe, notice how you feel around them. Take your time building up a new group of people. Don't rush into it. Anyone that wants to rush a friendship with you, or is, yes, trying to rush you along, or a partnership, you have to ask yourself why that is. Because lasting, strong, healthy relationships take time to build. It takes time to get to know people, doesn't it? Let's have one more, and then I think I'm going to leave it there. If you've got any questions about being estranged from your family, please feel free to put them in the comments below, and I will answer them as best I can, or maybe I could make another video to help you. This is just the beginning of starting off a conversation and just seeing if people want to talk about it, because I think that people that are estranged from their families carry a lot of shame. And look, here we have this Six of Wands. You're kind of a big deal, so start acting like it. Don't hide yourself away in shame and feel like you've done something wrong and that you're to blame, and you're that girl with the hammer that we saw in those back at the beginning, who's responsible for breaking up a family. No, your parents are responsible for the family. You're responsible for your individual relationships within that family, but I guess it's working out who is a safe person and who isn't. But there's a lot of shame around being estranged from a family. It's a lot more common than you think, and I'd like to bring that conversation out into the open, because shame only survives in secrecy and silence, and the more that we talk about it, the more we're setting each other free. And just knowing that, you know, all these three women over here that are kind of staring at her, they're not staring at her because she's done a terrible thing. They're staring at her because they're thinking, bloody hell, you're so strong and amazing. How did you ever get past that? And you might have moments where you think you won't, but you absolutely will. But it takes time. It takes time. And it can feel lonely at times. It can feel lonely. But, yeah. It's hard not to block that out. Right, last one. I said that before, but this is the last one because this is quite a long video. The Emperor. Yeah, the Emperor is asking you to look at all areas of your life and take full responsibility for it and know that only you can change it. There will be a period of time in your healing where you'll be working with the inner child, and the inner child needs to hear that mummy and daddy didn't give her or him what they wanted. They let them down, you know, and she needs that responsibility put back on the parents. But then there is a point where adult you has to come in and say, do you know what, this isn't going to change unless I do, and I've got to take responsibility for my life. But you are allowed, your inner child is allowed to feel desperately sad, angry, mad, rageful, revengeful, as long as you don't act on it. Remember, we're not acting on our feelings. But be honest with yourself. Tell the truth to yourself. You've had to lie to yourself for years to stay in this toxic situation. And you don't have to do that anymore. Telling the truth to yourself is the kindest thing you'll ever do. And yes, it will be uncomfortable, and yes, it will hurt. And there'll be things that your inner child doesn't want to look at. But now you're becoming the parent. So the Emperor is actually the father in the tarot deck. But you're now becoming the protective parent that your inner child needed to take care of you, to get you through, to get you through of where. And don't lose sight of your dreams. Like, live your life. Do what you want to do with your life. For so many years, I felt like I locked myself away in my flat, and I buried myself in my work, and because I felt shame. I felt, on some level, my inner child felt guilty and responsible for the choice that she was faced with. And as I said at the beginning, no one should ever have to make that decision. No one should ever have to choose between themselves and their family. But some families make you choose. And some families will push you to the edge of insanity. And some families will keep hurting you and using you as an emotional punch bag. And you, my lovely wild heart, do not have to tolerate any more of their crap. So I think we'll leave it there for today. Yes, do let me know what you think of this video. And if you'd like me to talk more about estrangement, or you'd like some more guidance on that, then you could book a session with me. I do one-to-one sessions. But yes, please reach out and know that help is here. People are here to support you. People understand. There are people that have lived through it and come out the other side and are still here to tell the tale, and it is possible. And as much as trauma has disconnected us from one another and caused us a great deal of pain in our families, healing is also possible. And you are a cycle breaker, and you are breaking those toxic, dysfunctional family patterns. And that means that you're full of strength and courage already. Wherever you are in your journey, even on the days where you don't feel like you absolutely are. You are the Emperor or the Empress of your life. All right, everybody, take care of you. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you again soon. Sending healing to all those people that need it. Bye for now.